In partnership with parents and the community, Birmingham Public Schools will provide educational excellence that empowers students to cultivate their individual brilliance and positively impact the world.
Thank you. Hello. Welcome to the Board of Education meeting for December 19th. This is our regular meeting of the month. And before we get started, I am going to have Joan go ahead and do roll call. Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Okay, and then to set the tone for our meeting, I'm going to ask Trustee Spencer to read our mission statement and our board norms, which of course we try to adhere to at all times.
It's the vision or the mission statement? Sorry. It's in
Oh,
vision.
vision,
Okay,
sorry.
that's okay. I thought we had just heard that. I wanted to make sure I didn't reread something.
You
Our
were right.
vision is all students in Birmingham will realize their full potential, think critically, and champion an innovative tomorrow. And our board norms are that we're respectful and reflective, prepared, we offer no surprises, we ask questions and seek to understand opinions, assume positive intent, and understand and respect the role of each other as trustees.
Thank you. Okay, and our first order of business is recognition. So Dr. Roberson is going to go to the podium.
Tonight. The first, I'm going to ask Principal Wicker from Seaholm to come up to talk about the Seaholm Links program.
Thank you, Dr. Roberson. I also brought Teresa Rogers, who's going to stand up even though she didn't think she was going to have to. Teresa is our department chair of special services. She's our social worker, and she also helps lead our Links program. And I have a student here, and she'll have a few words as well, Eden Smith. So Seaholm is a place where it's easy to highlight academic achievements, but the achievements in character and social relationships often go unnoticed. We Maples welcome a variety of autistic students from throughout the county so these students may have specialized programming and instruction to meet their needs. An important piece of this program is our peer-to-peer support class. Peer-to-peer utilizes experiential learning to bring neurodiverse and neurotypical students together in an integrated, positive fashion. Eden Smith and so many other students like her have an unwavering commitment to ensure that all students around her, such as the neurodiverse, feel included and accepted in the Seaholm community. Eden will tell you that she felt disconnected early in her high school career. Instead of withdrawing or becoming disengaged, Eden became committed to the idea that no one should feel that way in school, so she embarked on a series of endeavors to bring a sense of belonging to herself and those around her. Eden may say that the peer-to-peer experience allows her to be her authentic self. I say that her acceptance and commitment to others allows them to be their best versions of themselves. Eden is always applying the knowledge she is learning to the broader societal issues of equity, inclusion, and diversity. It's my honor to acknowledge her accomplishments at Seaholm and wish her the best luck in her college endeavors. And Eden has a few words as well.
Thank you. Hi, thank you, Mr. Wicker, for the nice words, and thank you for letting me have a few words here tonight. So like Mr. Wicker said, my first year of high school was all on Zoom, so I was starting to feel a little disconnected after that. So my sophomore year, I decided that I didn't want anyone else to have to feel this way again when we were back in a regular school environment. And I was lucky enough that my counselor had found me as a good student for the peer-to-peer class provided at Seaholm. And so my sophomore year, I started taking this class my third trimester, and it has not only equipped me with a profound understanding of autism, but also has given me lifelong skills that have now extended beyond the classroom and into my everyday life. I've now taken the class three times for 3 separate trimesters, and I've learned how to advocate for autism, how to communicate effectively with autistic students, and provide them the best support I can in a big public school setting. The peer-to-peer class has been an environment where learning and asking questions from social worker professionals in the Birmingham community is encouraged and celebrated. Throughout the first week of the class, I toured possible different rooms that you can be a part of for your 5th hour for the next 12 weeks of class. I personally have been a part of the Adult Transition Program, a practical math skills class, and most recently, again, in the Adult Transition Program in the new connecting Seaholm building. These have been all very different experiences, but all equally as meaningful. Taking the lessons beyond the peer-to-peer program, I've applied them to my everyday classes. I've become an advocate for the Seaholm Autism Program, educating my peers and even sometimes my teachers about the importance of inclusion and how incredible it is that we get to be a part of a school providing such amazing opportunities for autistic students. I've also began ensuring that we continue to advocate for autistic students in the Student Council as an active member. I've made a vast effort to add sensory-friendly elements to Student Council put on events and always ensure that we're thinking about them when planning. The peer-to-peer program has made me a better person. It has instilled a commitment of driving inclusivity in all aspects of my life. The class and what I have learned in the class has inspired me to pursue social work in college so that this is something I can continue doing in my everyday life. Because of this class, I now know that embracing our differences is the first step towards creating a truly inclusive school. I could not be more proud to be a testimony of the great things that this class has done for the Seaholm community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lane comes out tomorrow, so we're crossing our fingers that we get there.
Yay.
Thank you.
Aiden, thank you.
Thank you. Tulane? Yeah. That's what I thought it said.
To talk about our LETRS professional development and the work that we're doing around literacy.
Thank you for your time this evening. I'm honored to recognize a group of educators for their successful completion of the Lexia LETRS, which stands for Literacy Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling Suite. It's a transformative professional learning about literacy and language instruction. It's a comprehensive course that these educators have been engaged in for the last 2 years. For approximately 120 hours, they have spent really diving into the research that underpins our literacy standards. So we are thrilled to have around 30 educators in Birmingham who are graduating from this course this December. We have a few of them here tonight, but I also wanted to acknowledge all of those that couldn't be here tonight. So the list of people who have completed the LETRS training this month are Amy Airgood, Claire Armijo, Angela Beach, Nicole Beam, Melanie Bengal, Amy Boyd, Lauren Cash, Catherine Dahlman, Rebecca Dowtree, Kim Davis, Liz Jokai, Elizabeth Duggan, Jennifer Finley, Stephanie Fisher, Caroline Gardner, John David Garganas, Kate Helzer, Lauren Kirby, Cheryl Mazzoli, Molly Meter, Kara Milan, Dawn Marua, Kristen Paget, Gail Petaway, Danny Przinski, Cindy Sediseri, Amanda Shutt, Mackenzie Taylor, Michelle Zabel, and Sarah Zigley. And if you are here tonight and you completed LETRS training, will you please stand up and we can acknowledge you? Thank you so much. So this This recognition not only signifies a personal achievement, but also dedication to continued professional learning and dedication to the students of Birmingham to ensure that they're receiving the best possible literacy instruction. So we have more cohorts underway at all times, but wanted to acknowledge our first group that's graduating from this professional learning.
How many hours? Because there's a lot of hours to this program, so
I think it's
hours.
120, probably over 120. It's so at least 120 hours, and it's 2 years, I believe 8 modules, am I correct? So it's a really intense professional learning that they've engaged in. I've not gone through it yet. I'm starting in January, but I've heard it's completely transformational. People leave that training saying that it really impacts the way that they're instructing in the classroom. So we're excited to have these people finishing and many more beginning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And for, as many of you know, the board knows that we are currently in a review of K-12 literacy, and this is part of learning around the science of reading. So we're just happy to have so many people participating and giving so much of their time to learn. That concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Okay.
So I'll turn it back over.
Thank you. At this time, we would normally do a 5-minute recess, but we've barely been here 5 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and keep moving. But if you would like to scoot out now before we continue with the business of the board, you're welcome to. Trustees, at this time, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda? No? Okay. Well then, Dr. Roberson, it is time for your superintendent's report.
Sure. I'll start with just saying that we just closed our junior kindergarten applications. We'll be having a meeting tomorrow to discuss locations for our junior kindergarten classrooms. We had about 125 applicants for the program, so higher than we had for this current school year, and we're excited about that. We also just launched a preschool survey, which is going to let us know the interest level of parents who would like a four-year-old full-day program within their current elementary school. And so we don't know where those locations will be just yet because we want to see what the interest is from the community. But should parents be interested, it would run a possibly 5-day program, run the same calendar as the elementary school calendar for parents, and that there's also, because the state of Michigan is trying to phase in a universal preschool module. For some parents, preschool could be either free or at a reduced rate. And so if parents are interested in that preschool program, that app survey is out right now. Please make sure you fill it out. You can find it on our website. After we come back from the winter break, we will be sending something out to the community, also talking about late start and also transportation. Board, as you know, at our last study session, we had some conversation around late start for the high school. We are looking at a possible change of time from 7:30 to 7:50 or 7:55. And then there's also a question about transportation and whether or not parents would be interested in having middle school and high school students ride the bus together. We're asking that question because it would allow us to have some efficiencies, but we also understand that for some, there are differing views about whether or not middle school and high school students should be on the same bus. And so we wanted to get a feel from the community before we move any further. So we'll be doing that after the break. On your consent agenda, you will see that Aaron Morandini has resigned. That is our security director. He is moving down south, and so we will be hiring for that position. We are already working with the company to fulfill that, and so more information about that will come in the update. And lastly, I just want to tell the community No matter what you celebrate, Hanukkah, Christmas, or Kwanzaa, or maybe you don't celebrate at all, I hope that the next week and a half is restful and relaxing and just a good time with family. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. At this point, do we have board comments? Anybody?
I'll go. I have
Yeah.
a board comment. A couple of comments. Sorry to have missed the last meeting. I'll admit, I did not really look at my calendar. The big thing that sticks out in my head is I was able to attend Harlan's Diversity Night. It was just wonderful. They did a great job. So kudos to the organizers. I want to say Heidi Smith, but I'm terrible with names. She organized a really good event. There were a lot of great rooms, and they even had a little passport book. So it basically took us on a trip around the world. I got to see a Korean opera singer, taste some really good foods, and just talk to a lot of nice people. So I really enjoyed that. I know it's been a little time now, but I just wanted to give a congratulations to Dr. Roberson for the State of the District address. I thought she did a really good job, especially dealing with the little, snags of a live presentation here or there. But it was really good. I liked the student MCs. I loved the performances. I liked hearing, all of the different things, and I just really enjoyed it. And I would just encourage, if any of you haven't had a chance to watch it just yet, if you couldn't make it, to definitely watch it. And then I just wanted to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, although it has just ended. Whatever you celebrate, I echo the sentiment. I mean, and I also just wanted to say too that, this being the last meeting of this year as a new board member, I want to say thank you to all of you around this table, everybody in the room, for welcoming me and Trustee Spencer in, answering my endless questions, helping me try to understand things, and just helping me get a feel for the job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Well, 2023 is almost at the end. It's hard to believe, but it was another wonderful year for us here at the school district. And we appreciate everything that the community does to support our district and our teachers and our principals and our staff. That's highly appreciative, how you volunteer and maybe even donate or whatever you do throughout the year. It is very much appreciated. And we definitely welcome the new trustees this year too. It was a good smooth transition with them coming. So that's a sentiment to a solid foundation here at the board. And obviously, I want to congratulate the recognitions today, the two recognitions. That's very great. Both of my kids have volunteered and taken the class to help out, and they speak very highly of the program at Links at Seaholm. As a matter of fact, one of my kids is enrolled in it this trimester. It's an amazing program. I recommend anybody who goes to or enrolled in high school to take that class to experience how good it feels to do that and how good it is. And last but not least, I definitely want to also wish a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, Happy holidays to anybody who doesn't celebrate Christmas, any other holiday that you celebrate. I wish you a holiday, but most importantly, what Christmas brings to me personally is the joy, the lights that we see, the joy, the peace, and everybody is smiling. So I want to hopefully take that into the new year and to hold it somewhere in our heart, in our pockets, to bring it up when we have bad days, to bring that light up again, to lighten us up. So thank you.
Thank you. And I just have one quick update. So earlier this month, Dr. Roberson and Trustee Zamet and I had the opportunity to attend professional development through Oakland County School Board Association. Dr. David Arson gave, I guess you would call it a lecture, about thriving communities and how schools fit into that. And he talked extensively about school funding. It was a very interesting presentation, and so I was fortunate that we were able to attend that. And then I would just like to echo everybody else's comments, wishing everybody happy holidays, whether you've already celebrated or are looking forward to celebrating, and looking forward to 2024 being an amazing year.
I have one.
Oh,
Okay,
and Jen.
Sorry. The BEF Unabashed Bash tickets are on sale. Early bird tickets are available through December 31st, and then they go up, I believe, $50. So if you're interested in the bash at the Daxton this year, the first Saturday in February, tickets are on sale online. Also that weekend is the Birmingham Youth Assistance Dog Show. So look for more information about that. And just wanted to give Berkshire community a shout out. I had the opportunity to attend their holiday market where students and some staff sold some of the things that they made. So I was able to get a little holiday shopping done on Saturday, which was lovely. But again, to echo my fellow trustees, I hope everyone in the community has a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah if you've already celebrated, and Kwanzaa, and know we appreciate your support and look forward to 2024.
Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, we will proceed with public comment. Before I call anybody to the podium, I will read our public comment policy. Because the Birmingham Board of Education values public meetings, not just meetings in public, we welcome public comment on school issues. Most comments can be concisely stated in 3 minutes, and the board respectfully asks that comments remain focused on the topic or issue and not on specific personnel. We welcome your comments, but cannot discuss nor debate items not on the agenda. When asked to discuss non-agenda items, we can share facts but not engage in discussion. And with that, I have Tracy DeVries.
Good evening. Thank you for having us today. I'm Tracy DeVries. I am from Pembroke Elementary, and I teach 2nd grade, and that's not why I'm here, though. I am here because I'm also the sponsor for our leadership team, and so these guys are here to do the talking tonight. So I would like to welcome my 4 members of our leadership team.
Good evening, Birmingham community. I'm Remy, and I am a member of the Pride Leadership Team at Pembroke Elementary. Our team is made up of 5th grade leaders who have a focus of spreading the values of positivity, respect, integrity, dependability, and empathy throughout our school. Some members of our team are here and I to tell you about some of the awesome things we're doing at Pembroke to help spread these values and build a strong culture at our school. We meet every C-Day at lunch to make our plans. One way we do work towards spreading positive values is by hosting a Respect Circle each week. Respect Circle is a whole school gathering where we spread kindness and cheer to help get our day started. We focus on a character trait each week and work on explicitly giving examples and telling stories about how we all have the power to be upstanders and we have the ability to make a huge difference in the world by being good humans.
Good evening, I'm Blake. 1 week a month, our whole school also participates in Pride Packs, which are groups of about 15 students across grade levels that allow us smaller settings to build a community and focus even deeper on character traits and inclusion. Our Pride Pack groups stay the same throughout our time at Pembroke, and when 5th graders leave, a pride pack to move into middle school. New kindergarten students join the packs.
Good evening. I'm Jacob. I'm going to share with you something we did this year to help out beyond our community. This was really a proud moment for our Pembroke Pride. We partnered with an organization called the Blankets of Hope. Blankets of Hope is a nonprofit out of New York that provides blankets to the homeless population. They sent us 350 blankets for free, and all students at Pembroke wrote encouraging letters and colored pictures to attach to the blankets. Those blankets are being delivered directly to people in the homeless communities in our surrounding area. We so far have delivered blankets to Grace Centers of Hope in Pontiac, the Welcome Inn in Royal Oak, and we delivered some directly to a local high school we learned has some homeless students living in their cars. Everybody has been so happy and grateful.
Good evening, I'm Brooke. One thing we're working on is doing some more community outreach by volunteering in some way with the homeless. We have some opportunities coming up later in the winter that we hope to explore as a whole leadership team. That includes volunteering at a food bank and shelter to gain some hands-on experience to see the impact of our presence and empathy. This is our first time in many years having a leadership team at Pembroke, and we are so happy. We're the pioneers. We want this to grow into something bigger, and we are taking it one step at a time so we can do it right. We have a lot of plans and ideas for school events and spirit days to get our whole school involved in joining us as kindness leaders.
We are really excited about being on this team at Pembroke. We serve as mentors for all of the younger children at our school by leading by examples of kindness and all the character traits that our Pembroke Pride is about. Our goal is that our impact lasts for years to come. We aim to reframe the behaviors at our school to help everyone think about our positive messages when they interact with peers and staff members. This is a big job, but we know everyone is watching us, and that comes with a great responsibility. We are eager to be the kids to watch. We want people to notice when they enter our school that we are something special in this community. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you for highlighting that. It was wonderful. Next, I have Lauren Lambert.
Good evening. My name is Lauren Lambert, and I'm a fourth grade teacher at West Maple Elementary. And I'm here to make note of the wonderful things going on over at our school. There's no shortage of engaging academic, social, emotional, and creative opportunities to ignite student learning at West Maple. Our preschoolers got to have a Thanksgiving feast around the holiday and are collecting shoeboxes to build an igloo as they are currently learning all about the Arctic. The first graders are working on a social-emotional project in which they design a tile of something that brings them peace, representing one of the many strategies they've learned to harness their big feelings. The second grade, along with our art teacher, hosted their annual Empty Bowls fundraiser in December, for which students and staff created pinch pot bowls. Over $2,000 was raised for the Capuchin's Soup Kitchen in Detroit. Third grade has been studying characters, their traits, emotions, and values, in which they then made a float of their character for the Character Study Parade, where they got to show off their hard work in a trek around the school. Fourth grade is working on a cross-curricular project in which the students are combining their knowledge of earth science and geography to research a region within the states. Following their research, they'll make a 3D model and present it to their peers. Fifth grade students are building theme parks based on their novels they just read for book clubs. The first and fourth graders have partnered together again this year to work on our empathy project, which is focused around the guiding question, how can empathy and compassion help us make the world a better place? The buddy grades will explore different topics from food scarcity and water pollution, all through the lens of empathy. From our amazing Peacemakers group who are working on becoming an international peace site, to our green team who work to improve the school recycling program, and our honors choir that have already performed at the Birmingham Winter Market, our extracurricular groups are doing amazing things. We truly love being a part of such an incredibly motivated and giving group of staff, students, and families. We all greatly appreciate the opportunity to share just a few of the highlights that are going on over at West Maple. Thank you.
Okay, last I have Maria Bros.
Good evening. I am also a teacher at West Maple, a proud teacher there for almost 20 years. And I'm also here to share some wonderful things that are happening at our school, one that's very personal to me as my own children experienced it, and one that I'm a part of now. I would like to share with all of you that our production has begun on West Maple's 7th musical show, Finding Nemo. We are the only K-5 building in Birmingham to have such an opportunity for our budding performers, and we are so proud to be able to help foster a love of theater and performing arts in our students at an early age. This wonderful tradition started in 2007 with our first show, The Lion King, and since then has grown into an event that involves not just students, but also our staff and families. This year, we had over 100 students come out to audition and share their talents. Students also participate in production off the stage with opportunities to be parts of teams in charge of set design, costume design, program design, backstage crew, ushers, and even concessions. We have been very lucky to also have the full support of our parents and families who take the lead of these groups. Of course, none of this would be possible without our marvelous staff. Our teachers are an important part of bringing our show to life. We are grateful for the amazing and talented Jerry Haynes and Teresa Manning, who share their extensive theater backgrounds in order to act as directors, choreographers, and musical directors. Each year, they inspire students with their passion and lead them with their experience, all resulting in an unbelievable show. They aren't the only staff who eagerly jump in to support our kids. Volunteer staff members help with everything from ticket sales to hair and makeup, all to ensure our kids have the most unforgettable and authentic experience. On behalf of everyone involved, I would like to invite all of you to join us for the performances of Finding Nemo at West Maple Elementary on May 2nd and 3rd. I promise you a wonderful show that you won't soon forget.
Thank you. Okay, well, that concludes public comment. And now, trustees, we have our consent agenda. Oh, yeah, you guys can all scoot out if you want. I'll even wait.
Thank you all for
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, trustees, the consent agenda tonight does include the personnel report, our financial statements from November, and then 3 sets of minutes from the November study session, a regular meeting, and a special meeting. So resolution 35 is to accept our consent agenda items. Can I get a motion to consider?
I move to accept resolution 35, our consent agenda for this evening.
I would like to second.
Okay. Does anybody have questions? No? No. Okay, all in favor of approving the consent agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And there are 5 of us, 5-0. And then next we have the Deputy Superintendent, Resolution 36.
I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution number 36, the agreement between the Village of Beverly Hills and the Birmingham School District providing for a school resource officer.
Second.
Dr. Lindenberg, would you like to just give a brief explanation for the public?
Well, it's been a long journey, and we've worked really hard at this, and and so pleased with the Village of Beverly Hills for coming on board with this. This is such a victory for our students at Groves High School and our community at large, and just really proud that this is, and appreciate Beverly Hills for coming on board with this. This is a great day for us.
Yep. Okay, so, and just FYI, so this does mean we will have a full-time officer at Groves High School who will also service Berkshire
That's correct.
and
And Beverly, all of the Beverly Hills.
Yeah, elementary.
Yes.
Feeder schools. And the new SRO will start at January 8th.
Oh.
Right now, we still have the same person that we have now, who'll be working until the 8th, but on the 8th,
Okay.
we'll have our full-time person who will be stationed at Groves.
Okay. Questions?
No, I just wanted to make just to say thank you, and I want to echo your sentiment, Dr. Lindberg. Everybody on the team did an amazing job, and we honestly appreciate the Beverly Hills Police Department to come aboard and to help us achieve this goal. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I'm really happy too. I've been getting some questions and wondering myself, so I'm so glad this is going to happen. I had one quick question, Dr. Lindenberg, because I was just going over the contract? Or, so I just had a quick question. Number 5, so the training and certification. It talks about, the certification that the police officer must have, and then talks about receiving some training. Is that training they're receiving from Beverly Hills or from our school district?
It depends on which ones you're looking at. Which trainings are you?
I was wondering about all of them.
Okay.
Like, are they ones that we provide or that they provide?
Some of them we may provide,
Okay.
and some of them they will provide, so.
Okay, which ones do we provide versus them?
So if there's some equity training on there that's mentioned and
Okay.
so forth, we would provide some of that in
Okay.
conjunction with them. But the others, anything doing safety or anything else, then that would be provided by Beverly Hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so the diversity, equity, inclusion that we provide, is that something that we provide from our offices? Do we use a third-party vendor?
We would use a third-party vendor, or we would use an officer. We would work in conjunction with them. We haven't completely defined that yet, but we would certainly work with our partner on that.
Okay, will you let us know who you choose? I mean,
Sure,
I'd love to see
absolutely.
what the training is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, questions, all in favor of approving Resolution 36, agreement between the Village of Beverly Hills and the Birmingham School District to provide for an SR, a school resource officer, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Okay, that also passes 5-0. And next is the business services part of our meeting. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Specialized instruction and student services. Ms. Mahler, I'm assuming this is, you're going to address this.
Thank you. Yes, I can. The state of Michigan requires all local and intermediate districts to have a parent advisory committee that is made up of parents who have children who have current IEPs in place at their local district. And districts, we are allotted 2 seats at the ISD's Parent Advisory Committee. So we have one person who's been on it for 2 years now, and we have had an open seat due to another parent not being able to continue. And this has to be board approved because the ISD wants to be assured that the person is a resident and is a member of the local PAC committee, and then also has a child with a current IEP.
Okay.
So Mr. Sangara has been a member of PAC for a few years. He has children at both BCS and Seaholm and lives within our community and has graciously agreed to be one of our 2 members who attend those monthly PAC meetings at the ISD. And then they'll come back and share with me and the other parents on our PAC committee what's going on and connect us so that we can be sure there's a connection between the larger PAC committee and our own local one.
Okay, so trustees, can I get a motion to consider Resolution 37?
I move to consider Resolution 37, appointment of representative to the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee.
Second.
Okay. And are there further questions, comments? No? I guess I would just like to thank our parent representatives, including Mr. Sangara, for signing up, and
Mr. Butera, who's been on it for a few years.
Yes. So Trustee Joseph spoke about we're grateful to our community, and this is a large volunteer job, so we are grateful. Okay, trustees, all in favor of Resolution 37, the appointment of a representative to the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All right, thank you, 5-0. Okay, so now we're going to begin the business service part of our agenda, and I noticed that we have the quarterly dashboard update first, Kevin.
Nope. So I'm going to invite Scott Smith from Plant Moran Real Point to walk through our quarterly dashboard and how things on our bond projects have been progressing.
Perfect.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for including us on the agenda. We're back here. It's been 3 months already since our last one when we updated you in September. But this is our year-end dashboard report for December 2023. And we're following the similar format as we've done in the past, but we'll start with the financials. Some of the biggest changes have been our commitments, which are up approximately $22.5 million, and mostly that represents the work that you guys all approved this fall for work over at Groves, Seaholm, and BCS. Our actuals approved are up about $11.2 million, so we're continuing to do work in the field. Our commitments to date, I did want to note, we're at $141 million out of the 195, and we're just over 3.5 years into the bond. So if you average that out, you're looking at over $40 million per year that a lot of people have been working very hard on and are very evident as you drive across the district. So thank you, everybody that's been helping us along the way. There's been a lot of decisions, a lot of meetings, a lot of discussion, and we'll continue that path forward. As we continue across the screen, I realize this is probably a little small. Our reserve owner's contingency is consistent with we were last month, or last quarter, just under $3.7 million. The only other thing that really did change is our overall budget that we're managing is up slightly, and that's due to some, as the district closed out their 2018 bond proceeds, a little bit of that got rolled into this one. So that's up about $291,000 from our previous report. The pie charts represent where we're at relative to some of the smaller subsets of the budget, with about 84% complete in the construction side, 28% on FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment is that acronym. I would add we've started to heat up some of the discussions across the district as it relates to furniture and implementing it across all of our schools. We've had a lot of meetings with principals, and those will continue. So we'll be looking to bring some of that furniture forward next year for implementation next summer. Buses, currently about 16%, but I know that'll be going up here soon based on further discussion in the meeting today. We're about halfway through our technology expenses, and our design prime, again, that's mostly roofing and paving projects, remains consistent at about 18%. As far as upcoming projects, this is pretty consistent with what we talked about in September, so I won't go through it in any detail. But this really highlights the work at Seaholm, Groves, and BCS. And we've kind of broken it down a little bit, but just a reminder for everyone, we will be starting that work right after the holiday after the holiday break in selective areas of Groves and Seaholm. And then some other projects will break free starting in spring break, and a large chunk will happen over the summer next year. Ongoing projects, we had a chance to discuss this at our most recent Bond Oversight Committee meeting where we touched on a lot of these schools, but we're really closing down the work over the summer at West Maple, Derby. This fall we saw a very successful grand opening of the auxiliary gym at Seaholm. Our parking lot expansion was completed over the summer as well, and our gym over at Groves is also shaping up and is nearing completion. We anticipate a early next year turnover for that for all the students and staff. And then we continue to do work over at Seaholm relative to the athletic fields, baseball, softball, practice fields. We will be updating this in March when we come back. This will kind of flip. So we are starting to do design work for our next series of projects, which consists of work over at Bingham Farms and Corton Elementary, and we'll be looking at some paving and roofing projects as well. And we'll update some of our current projects to more closely align with the work that's ongoing at Grove, Seaholm, and BCS. And then just would like to share some photos of some work completed. Some of the stuff you'll see as you drive by, some of it you won't unless you go in. But in the backside of Derby, you won't see it from the road, but this is the completion of the outbuilding. So this has restrooms, a shelter. It has abilities to transform into an outdoor classroom over there. So that was recently completed in early November. A few shots from Seaholm of the auxiliary gym, the new ticket booth area. We've got turf down at Seaholm for the baseball and softball fields. Picture of our golf simulator room over at Seaholm. We'll be doing the same thing. In fact, that work is ongoing right now at Groves High School, where we have 2 bays. There's the new gym. I think last time when we did it, we didn't have any of the paint down in that space. But that second floor gym area is now complete. Next to it, you can see kind of a comparison to Seaholm as to Groves. They're very similar, just pretty much different colors, but offer the same opportunities. A toilet room, and recently the road behind connecting the 2 parking lots was complete over at Groves as well. We'll add more photos for Groves for March when we're back, and that project will be complete. Any questions?
I don't think so. It all looks beautiful.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great holiday.
Thanks, you too. Okay, so Mr. Teratuta is going to get us started on the budget appropriation amendment to our budget.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So today we're going to go through the first amendment to the budget for the general fund. And just so we have a reminder for the board, I know we covered this in the study session, but also for the public's interest, walking through a little bit of information about the budget process. So we traditionally do an original budget in June, and then here we are about late fall, where we're going to do our first amendment in the general fund. After this, we actually have 2 more. So we'll do one in the spring, which kind of further clarifies a lot of the information that may still be estimates at this point. And then in June, with our final amendment, is really our closest to actual when we kind of hone in on the actualities of where we're going to land at the end of the year. So that's our general timeline. But for this amendment, what has changed? So in the fall, or maybe if I take a step back, in June, we do a lot of estimation based on what's coming out of the state in terms of revenue and where we project enrollment's going to be. And then for last June in particular, kind of setting a prediction for how staffing was going to go. So now that we're here in the fall, the school year has has kind of been about halfway through. We know where our staffing levels are. We've had our official count. We've taken all those estimates, and now we have much better numbers to put on paper. And so a big question is, why do we amend in the first place? And the primary reason is really to have transparency in school district budgeting. It has a lot to do with fiscal stewardship. It helps the board and central leadership with strategic planning. And then it just gives the community and the board as well a better feel for how the school district is doing and what it looks like for the remainder of the school year. And when we put these budgets together, we don't necessarily do it in a silo. Myself, my Director of Finance, Josie Petita, sit down with all the department heads. We meet, we go to every building, and we just talk through budgets, which is a very time and labor-intensive process, but it helps us get a lot of clarity in what we're doing. So whenever we talk budgets, it's always fun to paint a little bit of a story and talk about, you know, where we've been and where we are. This isn't necessarily news to everybody in this room, but looking at enrollment trends kind of helps frame the picture of what we discuss. So what I've usually traditionally like to do is take a 10-year historical look at enrollment trends. And back in 2014, we were approximately 8,300 students. For our official blended enrollment, we're going to look somewhere just over 7,300 students. And that is an increase over the prior year, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we get into the details of the budget. All right, so general fund recommended budget changes for the board. So the slide that we have in front of us today is just a holistic picture of the revenues, expenditures, and net change in fund balance. And for the remainder of this presentation, I'm going to actually break these out into separate components. But I'd like to put this all up front so that you get the whole picture all at once. So we'll start really at the end. And we're going to talk about our net change in fund balance. So when we met in June, the net change, predicted net change in fund balance was approximately $1.675 million. With this most recent amendment, we are projecting a little bit of an increase to that deficit from 1.6 to about 2.7. And the reasons for that I will go into a little bit more detail. And for that, we'll start with revenues. So our original budget and revenues were $135.9 million. And the change from that original budget to this current amendment is an increase of about $8.26 million or so. The primary assumptions that we have changed are listed here on this slide. So earlier I talked about enrollment being an estimate back in June. Now that we have our final blended and amount, we've updated this number. So from the original to the amendment, our enrollment projection was an increase of 142 students. And originally we predicted a foundation increase of $425 per pupil, and it ended up being $458 per pupil. So with those two factors combined, it was an increase of about $2.5 million in total, but that's broken out when you go back here between the local revenue portion and the state revenue portion. The local portion is made up about $1.85 million. The local portion is $6.64, which has a lot to do with our hold harmless millage. The next item is a revised allocation of grant funding. And so just as a general reminder, whenever we get grants from either the state or the federal government, they're usually what we'd say is strings attached to them. And we either have specific ways that we can spend that money, but that money is always spent above and beyond our normal operations. So while we get the extra revenue, we also incur extra expenditures as a result of these, but they usually offset, so there's really no impact to the fund balance. Now, with this revision of allocation of grant funding from both the federal and state level, that's approximately $1.29 million. The next item is special education funding, Section 51. So this is also subject to some new legislation, which we did not know back in June, but the governor signed a bill that increased the state funding for special needs students from about 75% of the per pupil rate to 100% of the per pupil rate. So that combined with our enrollment for special needs was about $1.55 million in new funding. There is a change, however, that I do want to highlight. So within this same item, we included $1.91 million as a change of accounting. And what that means is we run our ASD Center program, and a lot of the money that we collect from special services and for special needs goes over to there. So a lot of Section 51, a portion of our IDEA funding goes into the ASD Center program. Now, traditionally, we've broken that out, and a portion goes into the general fund, and a portion goes into the ASD fund. However, with reviewing and during the audit season, we realized that process was a little bit cumbersome, and that's sort of what kind of led to maybe some excess fund balance in the ASD fund. So for simplicity and to true everything up, we decided to host everything within the general fund and make one entry at the end of the year that puts all the money into the ASD fund that it's supposed to based on their budget, and then the ASD fund then compensates the general fund for rent and indirect costs. So what that means from a budgetary perspective is really just a gross up of dollars of about $1.91 million on both the revenue side and the expenditure side. In good news, we did get an allocation for general ed transportation. So this was kind of a surprise very recently. And so with our November state aid, we were projected to get approximately $837,000 in transportation funding from the state, which has never been done before. And this one, fortunately, does not carry that additional cost with it. It's really to help offset some of the costs of transportation. And then as a result of a lot of the flow-through that we've done the last couple of years from the ASD fund, we did just true up the balance there based on enrollment and based on what the ASD budget is projecting, and we did bring down the transfer from the ASD fund into the general fund more to what we expect. So that, at a very high level, kind of captures all the changes within the revenue. Moving on to expenditures, our original budget was $137.6 million, and our recommended estimate is an increase of about $9.3 million. Now, the reasons for that are these 4 points here. So over the summer, as we've spoken about many times, we did work through with all 5 of our bargaining units a new set of contracts. We've also had, staff turnover, new staff. And so the fallout of all of those changes and in staffing levels and new contracts was about $4.75 million over the original budget. The bottom 2 items I just captured in the revenue portion, so that $1.2 million in grants and the $1.91 million in change in accounting we just mentioned. So the only other item up there that really captures that increase of about $9.3 million worth of note is that we are just currently negotiating our contract with our transportation vendor. And I didn't put up the amount there just because it is currently an in-process item. So that kind of covers revenue and expenditures. It helps to explain the increase in fund balance of about $1 million. But that's sort of where we are now, and so one of the more important things to talk about is just a future outlook to help us with planning and just to let everyone know kind of what we are thinking about. So at a high level, we've mentioned this before, but it's important to reiterate that it is our focus to address, obviously, the deficit spend, to help balance the budget and find efficiencies where we can to address that need. We do know that our federal COVID spending, much of which is kind of captured in that grant revenue and grant expenditures is going to fall off. And then we do also anticipate that the per pupil foundation rate is going to sort of go back to historical trends. What we're seeing is that, for those of you who may not know, that school funding is generally funded through sales tax. With a lot of the union strikes and consumer feel, that's not necessarily at the level that they were budgeting or predicting at this time. We'll have more information in January when they do the state revenue estimating conference. But for now, myself and my peers kind of anticipate the back to like 2% increases year over year. And then the last bullet point is just to review all the departments we have, all the other additional funds outside the general fund as well, just for areas of additional revenue opportunities and efficiencies. So those are the things that we'll be working out over the next 6 months as we prepare to finalize this budget and then move forward into 24-25. So that will conclude the budget update. At this point, are there any questions?
Okay, well, first, trustees, why don't we go ahead and get a motion for Resolution 38, which is approval of the amendment.
I move to approve Resolution 38, approval of the 2023-24 General Appropriations Budget Act.
And then now if we have further questions. Obviously, again, just for the sake of the public, we did have a very extensive discussion during our study session, which was last Tuesday. And obviously, the question of why we are talking about greater budget deficit came up extensively. So I'm glad that you addressed the future outlook, noting that part of our strategic plan has always been to address our structural deficit and to make sure that we do have a balanced budget. That being said, we did also approve contracts this year that will, for the next 2 years, in some cases 3, give us some, I guess I'd say,
predictability?
Yeah, predictability for salaries, wages, benefits. But it's still a hard pill to swallow at times. So we recognize that you're working on it, and we appreciate you pointing that out. But trustees, does anybody have a question relative specifically to the amendment?
I do have a question.
Okay.
And just to let you all know, I copied you, Amy. I reached out to Kevin and asked him a couple more specific questions. There's something I'm still having a little trouble with, and thank you for your answers. They did help. It's more of an overall question. I'm trying to understand in the expenditures page, with all the columns, we've got, total, and then it breaks down. We've got salaries, employee benefits, purchase services, supplies and materials, capital outlay. The biggest question I'm having is I understand, where the salaries went up. Purchase services in a couple instances went up pretty significantly in a couple of those categories, and I'm still just trying to understand why.
Sure.
Like, just give me a couple of examples, perhaps.
Okay. So much of the purchase services increases is related to our grant spending. In particular, a lot of our ESSER funding, or specifically the 11T funding, as well as mental health. So we've invested in either additional services for students, whether it is coaching through services or through software for student success, additional software to help our special needs students with learning loss. Those are probably mainly the larger components for those purchase services. A lot of it is to focus and address on mental health as well as learning loss, which are what the grants had aimed to do.
So for instance, the other pupil support, some of that was a pretty big increase. That would be those, say, salaries for the student support coaches? I'm not saying that right.
Remind me which,
219, other people support. So that was that was, say, kind of a bigger increase, and I'm just wondering, say, what that was.
yeah, it would be similar.
Okay. All right, so that was really just a big question that I'm still struggling with a little bit, but I'm hoping as I get maybe more involved in the finance committee, I can really understand these things a little bit better and really feel more confident myself understanding where these costs go up. I do understand, like Amy was saying, like President Hokumer was saying, we did approve these contracts. I knew that there were going to be some salary increases. I had hoped that that would be covered in large part with our foundation allowance increase. So anyway, that was my only question for right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we did discuss it in our study session as well as the finance meeting. But just want to make a couple of comments publicly. Just a couple things, nothing major. One, regarding the statement you made, you said when it increased from 1.6 million to 2.7, to paraphrase what you said, it was a minor increase, and I don't agree with that. It's a very large increase. So just for the record, it's not a small increase. Also, the fund balance is at 11%. That's pretty low. But the thing that I think public would struggle with, and maybe even somebody like Trustee Zamet or Spencer who are new, and even myself who I do this for a living, is that our revenue went up by $8-some million. And we all understand the salary, but yet our expenses went up by more than $1 million. So that's really where it's difficult. You know, we all aim, for the higher student count, which that's what we achieved. And everything that we wanted to achieve as far as the revenue came in. So you see that's where the struggle is, with public and us. But anyway, we do anticipate and expect a balanced budget by June 30th, which is our year end.
Are you talking for this year or next year?
June 30th, 2024. When we finish this budget, when the final budget amendment comes in, I would like to see a finalized, because honestly speaking, and I'll just go on public record, if this was a final amended as it is, I would not approve it. So with that in mind, I will approve it because to me it's a temporary amendment. It's not a final amendment. So just to lay out my expectation for the future.
Okay, Dr. Roberson would just like to speak.
Sure. Thank you, and I do understand all of the concerns from the trustees. I just want to take a moment to just go back a little bit in time. Took this position in 2021. In 2022, beginning of 2022, we shared with the public, because it was the right thing to do, being transparent, that we had a $14.8 million projected shortfall. And in that, we made some adjustments that year in 2022. Prior to the strategic plan being accepted in August of 2022 and approved by the board, we made some very difficult decisions, reducing 10% of our staff. You approved the strategic plan, and in the strategic plan, which is a 5-year plan, it says balance the budget. Now, that does not mean that it is going to take 5 years to balance the budget. But what it does mean is that we want to make sure that we are thoughtfully making adjustments within our budget that allows us to continue the quality of servicing and programming for our community. So as we move, that's August 2022, it is 2023. I just wanted the time period of what, because even where we are now is actually quite incredible. Having just finished June of 2023 and closing our audit out last month of our last school year with a shortfall of $200,000, which on $147 million is really a balanced budget. It's less than 1%. We decided this year that we needed to invest in our staff. Our staff is what keeps our district afloat. It is why parents send their students, their most prized possessions to our school. It's because of the quality staff that we have. And we invested in that. You invested in that. And we appreciate that. In doing so, where we are right now in an amendment is worst case scenario, we may end this school year with a $2.7 million budget in worst case scenario. If you look at the history of Birmingham and prior to the pandemic, this district often ran a shortfall of $3 million. That's not uncommon. Not where we want to be. Remember, our strategic plan says balanced budget, so not where we want to be. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is our worst case scenario, investing in our staff, has us at this place. We will be making adjustments. We have predictability now. We will be making adjustments to to come up with a balanced budget. I cannot promise you that by June 30th, because our worst case scenario is this right now. We are going to have to make some adjustments in planning for the upcoming year to balance the budget. I think giving us 2 full years to go from 14.8 to 0, I think is a reasonable ask. I know that it feels hard, but we have to, again, remember where we started from. So I just want to put that out there. Again, we are taking this all very seriously, and we want to do what is best for the community. And we put it in writing in the strategic plan so that you would hold us accountable to it.
Thank you. Okay. Anything further? Any other questions?
No question, just a follow-up. So, Dr. Roberson, I appreciate what you said. You kind of said as much at the study session too, and I've been thinking about that all week. You know, I've reached out and talked to President Hochmar, Vice President Rass, even, and you know, Luke, I hear what you say. I've reached out to Kevin as well. What I'm hearing really is that you are continuing to work to, you know, address our spending and to try and find additional sources of revenue. You're still very focused, and it sounds like the Finance Committee is keeping the focus on these things to try and get this deficit down, going in the right direction. And, you know, given given what we have done in the last couple of years, I guess given the audit results that we had, I have more confidence than I otherwise would have about, hearing this news. So you're hearing from Trustee Joseph, I think you're hearing from President Holcomb, or you're hearing from me. We want to really keep a big focus on trying to get to the next budget amendment, having brought this down if we can, get to the end, having brought this down if we can, and then always keeping our eyes out there with our next year's budget to really create that balanced budget. So thank you. I'm really grateful that you're hearing us, and I'm really grateful that we're all united in this. So I appreciate that.
And thank you for making that point. I do think that next year, again, we will have a little bit more predictability, and I think that will be an easier time for us to have a more balanced budget from the get-go that we can then hopefully ensure is a balanced budget at the end of the year. So if there are no further questions, are we ready to vote on this amendment? Okay. All in favor of Resolution 38, approval of the 2023-24 general appropriations budget, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. And Mr. Teratuda, you are also there for the easement of the water supply lines at Groves and Seaholm.
Much more interesting topic than budgets. Okay, so in front of you is just a couple contracts with the city of Birmingham and the city of Beverly Hills. We installed a couple new water supply lines at both of the high schools as part of our bond projects. And traditionally, when you connect to the water main at your local municipality, you would provide them an easement to maintain and do any necessary repairs in the future. So we did the hard work of putting it in. They agree, or essentially are agreeing to maintain them going forward, and this just grants them the right to do so. So very typical for installations of this kind, but does need board approval.
Okay. Can I get a motion to consider Resolution 39?
I move to consider Resolution 39, easements of water supply lines at Groves and Seaholm.
I second the motion.
Okay. Do we have any further questions? I do know this was discussed excessively at the bond committee. Yes. I'm comfortable that you guys delved into it.
We did.
Okay. All in favor of Resolution 39, easement of water supply lines, please raise your hand and say aye. 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 Okay. And that passes 5-0. And lastly, we have a Resolution 40, which award bid contract for purchase of buses, which is actually an amendment to what we previously did.
Yes, so at the last regular meeting, the board did approve the purchase of 16 or 14 school buses, generally for our special needs. However, in taking that resolution to the awarded vendor, I was then informed that those buses would not be available for several years. He did provide an alternative that meets the same needs, but just provides a different style of bus, which is actually a more capacity and better, longer lasting style of bus. And so for transparency, we want to amend through the board. The reality is an increase of the award amount of only $15,000 in total. And all of this is coming through from the bond funding.
Yes. So, trustees, again, I need a motion to consider Resolution 40.
I would like to motion to consider Resolution number 40, which is to award the bid contract for the purchase of buses.
Okay. Does anyone have further questions regarding this? It seems like a good solution, because I don't think we can wait, what'd you say, 2 years?
2 or 3 years, yes.
2 or 3 years, no.
And we did discuss this at the bond committee meetings as well.
Okay. Trustees, all in favor of Resolution 40, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
That also passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, trustees, are there any other additional reports?
I just want to remind trustees if they could send Joan and I your slates and/or self-nominations for our election in January by tomorrow, please.
All right, and then just a few quick calendar items. Obviously, our winter break begins on Friday, so Thursday is the last day of classes. It's a full day though. Full day, and I think I speak for everybody when I say we hope you have a restful break, enjoying family and friends, and hopefully some wintry weather, but not too much of it. And with that, I think we are adjourned at 8:21.